Alrighty, Tazz. Alrighty, the time, an hour and a half later, we can finally talk about you.
The time has come, Commander Cody. Execute Order 66.
Just kind of your overall opinions. How did you feel about the final season of you?
I felt like the final season in a lot of ways was exactly what I expected a final season would be and should be, but also it had a lot of elements that I was very much so surprised by. I think kind of the big mid-season reveal. I'm trying to be a little bit vague here, so for anybody who wants to kind of hear, a little bit of spoiler-free thoughts before we go into full spoilers, like the kind of the big reveal mid-season, while I don't think it lived up to the reveal of season 4, I think it was still a nice big kind of like tonal and directional shift for the show. And I think after the ending has sat with me for a while, I think really my first reaction was I was like, oh, really? Like that's it? That's how it ends? But I think the more I sat with it, the more I listened to kind of the justification for the ending, like hearing Penn Badgley talk about the ending and like why they went the direction that they did, why they chose to do the specific things that they did, I was like, okay, I really do see and understand why the show ended the way that it did. While I have tons of like crazy, like fun, funky theories as far as like how you could have ended it, maybe a little bit more open-ended or like brought things full circle, brought back certain characters in certain ways. But the way that they did things, I think it grounds the show very much so. Like I think the show really did go off the rails like post season 2. Like I think end of season 2, season 3, season 4, it got I won't say fantastical, but they almost lost the plot in a little bit of a way, right? Is like they kind of lost the idea of why the show started in the first place. Like Joe Goldberg is not a good dude. Like he'll do some vigilante-esque things, but at the end of the day, he is a stalker, a manipulator, a serial killer. Like, and not a Dexter serial killer. Like he kills innocent people just because he doesn't want to get caught or because
he's a bad guy.
Yeah. And he's not one of those like bad guy with a heart of gold kind of thing. Like you thought they were kind of going to go that way. Maybe early on, like there's some kills early on that you could somewhat forgive. Like, but I think at the end of season 1, when he kills Beck, like that's the point of no return. Like I think up to that point, you could have justified every life he took. But after the end to season 1, that solidified Joe as the ultimate villain of the show. And I think they doubled down on it this season. Like they gave you hope that, okay, he could have this perfect life. He could have kind of everything he worked to get. But at the end of the day, Joe is Joe. And he can't allow himself to be happy because it's never enough for him. And there's always going to be that next target. And the whole show, you're right, and the whole show has been from his perspective, and it's like, how reliable of a narrator has Joe been for us? And he has twisted and manipulated the truth to the audience even to justify what he's doing and to be like, see, yes, I'm doing bad things, but I'm doing bad things for a good reason. But in reality, like, no, dude, like you're doing bad things because you can't control yourself. You are a bad guy. At the end of the day, there was the one scene that I really loved was Joe was in the car. He was FaceTiming Kate, and she was like, "You're a serial killer," and basically he was like, "Yeah, but like at least I didn't kill kids, dude. Like that's kind of messed up." And he just like that's kind of his mic drop moment. And I'm interested to see what you thought of that too, right? Is so kind of throughout the season, we got the sort of dichotomy of like, yeah, Joe's the one like going through with the murders and everything like that. But like Kate is also kind of sketchy in a lot of ways and an enabler at the beginning.
I thought she was going to go to jail. I kind of wish she went to jail at the end. Like, I kind of
Do you wish she went to jail, or do you wish she had actually died? Which ending would have been better? Like, I did think it was a little weird that she kind of got out
no consequences. Yeah.
unscathed.
Yeah, that was the point where I'm like,
Yeah,
really?
she like literally
She's
had this
alive
guy,
and
like
she's
she had this guy
good?
kill her uncle to keep her powerful seat in her company.
And she keeps the son, right? The son, which we'll talk about him
Yes.
later.
Oh God,
Which
yeah.
I
Henry was a
preferred.
standout.
Henry was really, really good. I loved him a lot.
Yeah.
Should have went back to the parents from season 2.
Yes. Yeah, dude, he should not have been. Okay. Oh God, there's some stuff too. I started researching too what happened in the books, and there was a book that came out post, like, after the show had. I think the first 2 seasons of the show were out when like this third book came out. There's some crazy stuff. The book goes crazy. Joe in the books is even more messed up.
So
if
is
that's
it
even
based on
possible.
a book, or is it?
Yes.
A book
So
based on the show?
okay. So the show is based on the books.
Oh wow.
So what is it? There's like 3 books. Hold on. You, Hidden Bodies, Providence, You Love Me, and For You and Only You. Interesting. 4-book edition. Yeah, there's a lot of Again, very similar to Dexter. There are Dexter books that go that get much crazier than the show. Like in the Dexter books, there's actually some supernatural elements.
Wow!
Like,
oh wow!
Yeah.
Man, Audible, if you're listening, sponsor us. Look, there's so many connections.
Yeah.
There's Star Wars.
Yeah,
books,
I guess I need to start.
Yeah,
I guess I need to start actually reading books. Like
that's my
or
favorite.
At least listening, or at
now.
least listening to them.
And I know you're on like a serial killer murderer kind of kick right now. I feel like these kind of shows can only end a couple of ways, right? I feel like most of them kind of have to end with them either in prison, with them in death, or them being justifiable, like their actions being justified, them getting away or whatever it may be. So I feel like,
and they experimented with all of those endings, and this is the one that they decided on for one simple reason, a couple reasons.
Yeah,
a couple of different reasons, which I'll go into a little bit more. And I think if you haven't seen it yet, you've got to watch that podcast that I was talking to you about.
I'll have to check it out.
Can send you the link outside of this, but
yeah, and like I think
context.
We had talked about it, and like we had given our theories, and we had talked, well, maybe he was crazy and blah blah blah. But I think outside of that, like I do think him going to prison for me was always the right ending for the character. Like I think just a character that likes to lock people in cages that can't sit still, that can't has to move
full
on.
Circle.
I think he has to be locked up himself. I think that was always going to have to be the ending for a character like that.
And I think that voiceover at the end, the more I listen to it, the more I think that his final monologue voiceover was perfect. And the way that it ended with him like reading the fan mail and stuff like that, it's like, maybe I'm not the problem. Maybe the problem is you. And I was like, at the end, I was like, the heck? But like, as I let that sit and I watched maybe 100 different edits using that, I think it is literally the perfect note to leave the show on. Maybe the problem is you being the audience watching the show, watching the show, idolizing Joe Goldberg for 5 seasons, being like, yeah, he's a murderer, but like, oh, he's great.
Hot.
Like, yeah, exactly. Like, and they kind of approach that in the show too, is like, and I really do think that that's a very interesting thing. It's just like the show almost questions its own audience. Like, why did you just sit here and watch 5 seasons of this insane guy murder everybody who he said he loves, or at least try to? And the fact too that in those final moments he chose death over imprisonment. When he realized he lost, he was like, just kill me now, I'm done. And what another interview with Penn Badgley is basically, he was like, they didn't want somebody to kill him in the end, because then that would bring whoever killed Joe down to his level. And basically, he would have number one, gotten the easy way out with death, and number two, it would have made whoever stopped him just as bad. So I think that it definitely showed some power that not only did Bronte eventually kind of come around and see through the lies of the Jedi, but also she didn't kill him, but used him in the same way that he used so many other people. She got what she wanted out of him, which was an explanation and a way to publish Beck's book unedited, but also put him away in prison forever, where he can no longer interact with anybody or do anything ever again. And to top it all off, she shot his Goldberg off. Which I think was maybe the funniest irony of the end of the show, right? Is like, that's all he was thinking with the entirety of the show.
100%. Yeah.
And now that's
gone.
That is a non-factor going forward, unless he's got some great doctors in the, in prison. And there was a part of me that thought that the show would end with him like in prison, right? And then like a prison guard, like a female prison guard walks by, and he's like,
Harley Quinn.
Hello, right? No, you're right, exactly. Where he's like, well, hello, you.
Yeah.
I see how you wear your uniform.
It does feel that'd be a very fun season, actually, him in prison.
Right, where it's like, okay, and the story continues no matter what, even if he's locked up in prison, he never changes. I think that would be an interesting way to end it as well. Yeah, it could easily come back. Like, I've seen people say Michael Scofield from Prison Break could break him out. I've seen people say that he's going to team up with Dexter because they're both in New York. All the crazy stuff that could happen, but like, if it ever comes back, I want it to be off the air for like 10 years, like Dexter was.
This is a show I don't necessarily want to come back. Like, I think it wraps up in such a good way that I think, not to say that stops other shows from doing so, but it's like, okay, what ending could you possibly give it again that could justify it coming back, whatever.
I think the only thing that you could do is maybe wait until Henry's older, and then, maybe a show about him, like, working up the courage to go see his father in prison. I think that's the only route that I see going forward, is like, or maybe he starts to experience some dark tendencies like Joe, and he recognizes that in himself, and maybe he turns to his father to kind of see, okay, what did you do, and how can I not become that person? And then maybe that's Joe's kind of like redemption, right? So he tells, his son about like all these things that he went through, and maybe tries to help him not be that kind of person, but then maybe in the end, all Joe is doing is manipulating him and all that kind of stuff. And I do think as well, going back to one of my imagined alternative endings, take the entire show full circle and have Henry be the one that shot Joe. Not necessarily killing him, but have Henry shoot Joe in a very similar way to how Joe shot and killed his father, to start the whole cycle from the beginning. Not my original theory, but again, something that I've seen thrown around there, and something that I thought about for sure throughout the course of the show. And especially when, I guess let's just talk about that now too, is how Henry, that final conversation between Joe and his son, and he was like, no, you are the monster, which is echoes, I believe, as well, one of the last things that Love said to Joe as she died, is like, he will always see you as a monster. Which I thought, again, there were some really great full circle moments. Like, as silly as the show was and became, and how much of kind of a parody of itself it was, I think they did the right thing in the end. Like, it was convoluted, it was silly. I see the memes of people like, season 4 Joe Goldberg, like, was a man on a mission, murdering everybody in sight. Yet season 5, he got beat by like Redditors and TikTokers. Like, I think that's let's address that elephant in the room.
Let me go back a little bit, because I feel like we kind of all over the place. I do want to talk about Henry, kind of while we're on the Henry the conversation.
Yeah.
I think it was such a good decision bringing him back this season, making him an actual character. You
Mhm.
know, kids on TV shows and stuff like this aren't always the greatest. Sometimes they're just like the push the plot along. But
Yeah.
I really like there being active consequences for
Yes.
Joe's actions from the past.
Yeah.
Like
And I think the 3-year time jump helped a lot too, is
3-year time
him
jump help
being old enough to kind of
conscience,
comprehend what's going on.
and also seeing the real world, like killing in front of him, bringing him the murder scenes, bringing him being around while they're killing people had actual consequences. He
Yeah.
had subconscious
Yeah, he was messed
angry
up a little bit.
tendencies. Yeah, like
Yeah,
he was.
like he showed tendencies of like his mom and his dad. Like he was,
Yeah,
he punched a kid in the face.
yeah, and like yeah, like he like that's so interesting seeing like subconsciously. Like I'm not a parent, but like seeing how like every little action you do for your kids, if it's positive or negative, has an impact on them
Right.
for such a long time. Like he didn't know what was going on, but subconsciously there's an element of, even if it wasn't the actual um murders themselves, it's the environment that he was up around. They were always fighting. They weren't around the for a long time. What was it, season 2 or no 3? There's the element of like, I don't feel for him. I can't feel that love that
Right.
I'm supposed to, and he did after a long time, but at first he couldn't. He left him.
Right.
He gave him to another parent. Like
I mean,
those are
but
going to
that was,
fuck with
I
the
think
kid.
that though was the most selfless thing Joe ever did, was
Mm,
relinquish his power as a parent and say, I am not fit to raise this child,
mm.
and gave him to somebody who was more fitting to give his son a good upbringing, and
And the most selfish thing he did was take them
was to
away
take
from him.
him back.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Which, going back to the Kate side of things, is she had a hand in bringing him back. So she had to have, again, I think there's some plot holes here too with a lot of things. Like there really are some like hoops that we have to jump through. Also, something I didn't even think about until the whole show was over and somebody posted about it. Whatever happened to Joe's split personality with Reese? And like how at the end of season 4 he like looked into the reflection of the glass and like Reese was staring back at him.
Hmm.
And then I think that was all just explained away with one little line of him saying, I was dissociating or something like that, right?
Yeah.
It's like he was just like, yeah, I was crazy for a little bit, but now I'm good now. But like, that's
Well, I
not how
think
that.
that part of it kind
That's
of
not.
makes sense to me. Like, if there isn't that reflection there at the end, but like,
Yeah.
because I think a part of it was like he was trying to justify, like he was still trying to be that good person, seasons 1 through 4, and I think why the ending is so good is he snaps. He realizes like, oh, actually, I realized I actually love doing this. Like, it's
Yeah.
not just this hero complex. I had to do it. Like season
Yeah.
5 is him literally being like, "Nah, this is who I am. I love doing this shit. I think it's
Yeah, you're
awesome."
right. You're right. It's like he kind of, yeah, it's like he kind of justified it in his mind as like, oh no, it's not me. It's to
It's
to
his little
reference to
pet
reference
peeve.
Dex to reference Dexter, it is the dark. He's blaming the dark passenger, and you'll
Yeah,
understand that.
like he
Yeah,
treats it like a little fatal flaw. It's like, I just have a little bit too much sugar sometimes. It's fine.
yeah. It's
It's
like
not the end of the
I get
world.
I love too hard, and maybe get a little murdery here and there. Like
I'm a hugger. It's just something I do. It's fine.
I get
Whatever.
a yeah
And it's
without
mean. It's
yeah.
that moment where it's
Well, the
like,
the tonal
oh
shift though is
yeah.
like, you want to do you want to know how Beck died? I'll show you. Like that right there.
It's
And then
yeah,
and then when she said, "There he is. There's the real Joe." I was like, "Oh shoot."
it is.
Like this
It's
is the guy that we've been following for five seasons.
yeah, like again, it's that like narrative thing. He's telling himself he's good, and that's the version we're seeing. But really,
Mhm.
it's not. Like Joe is this misogynist guy that's being painted over by this white knight in shining armor. This guy who's there, who loves women and wants them to be empowered, but it's like only empowered when empowered by you. Like when you say it's okay for them to be empowered, and
Right.
it's like, oh man,
It's
that's
like
so interesting.
he is so controlling by believing that he is giving these people control. I
Yeah,
guess, to use kind of what they, their words with them as well, is like, it is such a like, it's such a deep conversation, and I think they really only kind of scratch the surface on like how deep it goes.
agreed.
And again,
Yeah,
that which is why I think listening to those interviews with the cast, like it again, it puts everything into such a better perspective. And I think they did such a great job with handling such a very delicate scenario. And I think they again left it on a good note. Is like, as creatives, as actors, I feel like they could not in good conscience leave the season off with Joe in a position where he quote unquote won. Like,
agreed.
as much as the audience, you would like to see your main character have a happy ending. It's not about Joe getting the happy ending. It's about all of these people that he wronged, and anybody who's left from his, path of destruction getting that happy ending.
I think actually, like, this show would drop several letter grades if he escaped or he whatever. Because like I've talked to people over the years when I started it the first time, where someone's like, "I can't watch the show because that makes me uncomfortable within the real world," and like from the woman's perspective, 100%. Like that,
Yeah.
like that's a reality they live every day. And I think
Yeah.
with something like this, like if you end it glorifying the
Exactly.
killer, which is
Exactly.
what the show has
Which is
done up until this point,
right, and
right?
which is why Penn Badgley hates Joe, right? Which is why he absolutely despises that character, and it's so funny to see his tonal shift in these interviews where he's like, "Yeah,
Yeah.
this dude got what he deserved. He got his junk blown off, and he got locked away in prison, never to come out or and hurt anybody ever again. Like, he got his comeuppance in
100%. Yeah, like
in the worst way possible."
100%. Like yeah, like I think you have to show to the audience, this is not okay. You
Yeah,
can't be like Joe. Joe is a
yeah,
bad guy, and him
yeah,
getting what he deserves, I think again was always the ending. I think it always had to be the ending,
right.
even if the execution I thought itself felt a little like face value in some aspects.
Yeah, and that kind of brings me back to the beginning of this, is like, it ended in a way that I definitely kind of saw coming. Like, when we got the big reveal that Bronte was onto him from the start, I was like, oh shoot, like that's crazy. Like, she's been playing him since the beginning. But it all kind of fell into place and all kind of made sense. And I'm like, how has nobody else put it together? Like, why did these, like, conspiracy theorists on Reddit and TikTok put this together before the police could put it together? And there were like so many like elements of things that like were around for so long, like, the jar of pee from season 1, like, all these like little random things that have been following Joe across all of these seasons that somehow never caught up to him. Yet very coincidentally, this girl that was a friend of Beck like got suspicious after her death because she read the book, and it didn't sound like it sounds so convoluted when you try to go back to like explain it. And then, you know the other big thing that sort of shows like Joe was off his game is, I saw somebody say this, was that the fact that he didn't know, that what's his name was Dr. Nicky's son. Like, Joe would have done his due diligence in an earlier season and researched all of Bronte's friends immediately. But the fact that he didn't do that shows that he was blinded, I guess, for a better word, or for lack of a better word. Like, he was very much so, he thought he had the upper hand, and that he was, I don't want to say pulling a fast one on anybody, but that just like he could just continue to do what he's always done.
Blinded, but also I think lazy. Like I think
Yes,
he
well, he was out of
became
practice. It had been 3 years since he had done any of this stuff, so I guess that's their justification.
out of
But
practice,
also,
but also like I would argue like he again the first time he's enjoying it, he's having fun. It's not like this. Oh, I have to take care of this.
yeah,
He this season. I think we're slowly. This is a season we're slowly seeing him go insane. He's losing his mind a little bit. He's not
right,
fully there. He's broken into several different pieces. So I think him being a bit lazier actually kind of fits here. Him being like, yeah, okay, she loves me, because like even him taking her back is so interesting to me. Of like, and we'll probably get into that, but of like
Yeah.
her tricking him. Oh my gosh, I'm leaving. Oh no, I'm actually in with you. It was like, oh
It's like,
okay,
yeah,
let's
it's like, oh
go.
wait, no, you defended me. You said that I, killed this guy out of self-defense, and then okay, that's
Yeah, like
also
I'm
that's
back
a
with you. Yeah, like I feel like that stuff also felt a
it was
little
it
like,
was obviously self-defense.
but that I mean, we can talk about that, and then I feel like we'll make our way into like the social media aspect of it.
Yeah.
Bronte is a very interesting character I don't quite know how I feel about. Um,
Yeah.
but what I will say is I actually kind of really do dig in the context of the story. Obviously, it's a terrible thing in real life, but the Stockholm syndrome story that we tell with her, I think, is fascinating. Of her going undercover for the first time, a love interest who knows who Joe is from the jump,
From the start,
knows,
yeah.
yeah, like she knows
Yet
exactly who he
she
is.
yet she still somehow knows exactly what to look out for, yet still falls into the trap that everyone before her fell into, which
Which
is
is
such an
kind of real.
interest. Right,
Yeah.
exactly. Well, it's because it's the whole. So again, listening to more interviews because this is all I do. Obviously, in my free time, is listen to interviews about shows that I've finished. Is so it was the actress that plays Bronte with Penn Badgley. They were talking kind of about like what happened, and basically like it would have been unrealistic if Bronte didn't, for at least a moment, kind of, throw all logic out the window and kind of fall like head over heels for this guy because that's what he does. And it's kind of the whole point of like, oh, I'm so smart. This could never happen to me. And that's why it does happen to you, sort of thing. Is you would never, oh, I'd never see it coming. This can't happen, and then by the time it happens and you see what happened, you're like, oh shoot, like I let this thing happen. And like it doesn't even have to be necessarily like relationship related like it is in the show. Like it could be about something else entirely, like something just like sneaks up on you, or like whatever. But like I do think that that's a very interesting angle that they played. But she stumbled, she recovered, and in the end did the right thing and was able to still take him down. Which again, I think Joe got cocky and he got lazy and he got comfortable. I think it is the best word for it. I think that's really the best word for it. Is he got very comfortable in his new life, and he thought that he thought that Kate was so distracted that she wouldn't recognize what he was doing on the side, and just be able to slip back into his old ways. But it just like, and it's sort of one of those things too, where like go back to watch Revenge of the Sith again, right? Is like you watch it and you hope Anakin doesn't fall to the dark side. Like, but every time you watch it, he's going to turn evil. And it's like that with every season of You, right? It's like Joe has this, this perfect relationship. He's got everything going for him, that sort of thing. And then somebody new walks in and he's like, "Oh, well, hello, you. Like, what could happen? Oh, no, 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 no. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to go down that route again." And then he goes down that route again. And you're like, it's so frustrating. It's so frustrating. Season 1 Joe would have been perfect, or I guess the Kate that we saw in this season would have been perfect for Season 1 Joe.
Mm,
Whereas for Season 5 Joe, I think he
yeah.
would have more so understood love a lot more. Like that would have been the better pairing versus when they
Yes.
met in the
Yes.
timeline. Like I think, and after seeing that, I was like, you know what? That's a really intelligent perspective on it. Like, and just to see how far he fell, even from like, obviously he wasn't a good guy at the start, but like somebody on the level of Kate that kind of understood that darkness a little bit kind of would allow him to do some sort of things, but like not, nothing crazy. But then he got to the breaking point of he killed love because she got to the point where Joe is currently,
Yeah.
when Joe thought he was the sane one. So
Yeah.
that, yeah, yeah,
No, that's very interesting. Yeah, because like Yeah, because season 3 is so interesting because they are both killers, and like that's probably the best version. I say best version of Joe as he's having an affair and he's cleaning up these murders, but like it is the best version of him we've seen in the show. Either that or like early season 1.
Yeah.
But like you're right, it's like they're on. I think those two are on the verge of something working out of everyone that we've seen, especially when they
Yeah.
start having into like the open relationship of it all, as cringy as that entire plotline is. It's
Yeah.
also something I was shouting out that he should have been doing it. Like both of them should have been, like
Yeah.
they both care deeply for each other. They have a child together, but they're
Yeah.
also looking for
But
outside affection.
yeah, I was
So
gonna
it's
say
like
neither of them can control themselves as far
I
as
was
that
like,
goes.
you can both kill. You guys are both okay with that. No, obviously, I'm not justifying that action, but like in their relationship, go both kill, do what you want, clean it up, see who you want. Like you can see this other
Right.
person, just be like, yeah, I'm in an
But
open
obviously they
relationship. And
couldn't because they both got jealous no matter what.
if they could have just like talked about all their things and what they both wanted, they
Oh,
ultimately
go
wanted
the
the same
mature
thing.
the two serial killers
Yeah,
that got married could just talk about it in a nice
it's
mature
uh,
advance,
it was so frustrating though because like they found the right decision for both of them. Like they
Yeah.
had they reached a point where, like, you guys have solved it. This is amazing. Good for
Yeah.
you. And then just like, well, no, all right,
Yeah.
all right, let's
Yeah.
go
I
down
do
that
also
road.
I do also think season 1 Joe would have wanted to kill season 5 Joe. Like
Yeah,
if season 5 Joe
agreed.
was like out and about during season 1, that would have been somebody that Joe went after.
Hell, even
For
season
sure.
3, Joe.
For sure. For
Yeah,
sure. I think even season 4 Joe would have killed
early
himself.
season 4. Yeah, like
Season
he really cracked like season
Yeah.
like the like season 4 ending, and like not to reference Star Wars, but like is the Anakin to Darth Vader. Like Joe
Yeah.
turned it, and like even the like the final episode, like when he's in the prison, I got the
Yeah.
vibe that this is like him turning into the actual serial killer. Like this
Like
whole
he is
show.
yeah, right. Is like it was making a making a murderer
It
for all
was,
intents
yeah,
and
like
purposes. Yeah.
it felt like I was watching a movie about like like Bundy or something, about these very famous killers, and
Yeah.
it almost felt like like a prequel to like a
Yeah.
massive like murder, killer or whatever, and that he will someday get out and this will be how he got here kind of thing.
Yeah. What's a serial killer name, by the way? I like they threw around a couple of things. Like obviously he had the, Eat the Rich Killer from season 4, but like what would you,
Oh
you
God.
know, channel your inner Cisco, what would you call him?
Oh, something with love, like the love killer, or like
Ooh.
um, I don't know, Cupid's arrow. I don't know, something like something to do because that's what he does. He makes people fall in love with him. He gets him close. He makes them feel safe, and then when he's
I don't
not,
know.
I don't know, like something like that would be fun.
The passionate Punisher. I don't know. Something like it's got to be something silly.
Something with a
Like
book, maybe like
something, yeah.
the bookworm. I think now we're talking about it, and like now I'm kind of putting it in perspective a little bit. I don't know how I felt about it because in some ways I actually really liked some of the stuff they were doing, but also some of it felt very. I don't know if I want to say cringe, but very.
It was a product of the time that it came out. I think maybe in like 10 years time when people go back to watch this show when they realize the revival is coming out and they're like, "Oh my god, they stopped them using this old rundown app called TikTok." Like, I
Even
think
now,
something like
though, like I feel like it's a very exaggerated version of what
yeah.
TikTok is and what it
But it
can
was
do.
but I feel like in a lot of ways it was very realistic though. Like I think if this kind of story was happening in real life, like, and he was kind of viewed as this sort of like local celebrity, and all of these like crazy rumors and things like that were coming out, like 100% you would have gotten that scene where people like were posting, like doing all the reposts and the stitches and all that sort of
Yeah,
stuff, which brings me to, I can't leave without mentioning this, my second favorite cameo outside of the cameo in the finale, which I somehow completely skipped over. But my second favorite cameo was Paco.
that was nice.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I loved that. And he was like, "Oh yeah, he's he saved my mom and I from this thing, and he's like, leave out the incriminating stuff, Paco. And then he's like, yeah, we never saw him again. He's like, shut up, Paco, like stop talking.
Yeah,
I thought that was hilarious.
they did a great job. Like, probably one of the better jobs I've seen of like returning characters. Like
Yes, yeah,
they
they
did
did
it in a
really
way.
well.
Like, I think that was such a smart choice to do that. Be like, okay, how do we happen to bring all these major characters back into the
Hmm.
frame? And I was really hoping for or not Dylan. That's Dylan. That's his name from the other show. But his like friend from like the bookstore, played by that actor who's in
Oh,
everything.
Ethan.
Ethan. Yeah, I was like, I was
Yeah,
hoping for a cameo from him. I got it.
yeah,
The only major character that I would have liked that I knew they weren't going to do was Jenna Ortega's character from season
yeah,
2.
yeah.
I
Which
knew she was not.
apparently there was a cut storyline where she was supposed to be like a mysterious benefactor for the takedown crew of Joe.
That would have been
Like
cool. That actually would have
like
made
kind of
sense.
working behind the scenes, like she was like funding them or like, secretly in
Was
charge
he
or
still
something
paying
like
her
that.
money every
I
month?
don't I don't know.
I
I don't
cannot see like him doing that unless like maybe he stopped and then once he got rich, he's like, here's 10,000, here's ten
Here's
million
like here's
dollars.
$10 million. Yeah.
Yeah, like I'm done. Just like you'll be good for a
Gosh.
while.
Yeah, think about, okay, we need to like what there's so many lists that we can make off of this, like,
Top tens or
top
whatever.
10 people, top 10 people we wish didn't die, top 10
Oh
people that
God.
should have died. That kind that kind of thing. But okay, last character that I'm excited that came back, Mr. The real Will Bettelheim, please stand up. I love that actor so much.
Yeah.
He's so great. And once again, I am so happy to
Such a
say
loyal
that,
friend.
yeah, yeah. I'm so happy to say that I saw him in real life one day
Oh,
at that convention that I had mentioned a while back, where I saw the Gotham cast. But yeah,
he
yeah,
was such a real one. Like he was like
yeah.
he could have
He was
easily like a couple years later been like, hey, this guy's a killer. Go get him. I think I'm
he
safe at
was
this point.
he was Joe's only real friend and the only one who, like, the first one to ever escape the box legitimately. Not
Yeah.
escape, but like be let out of the box.
Yeah. Yeah, and like I get he had stuff on him and stuff like that, but I feel like
Yeah. Do you
I don't
again?
know.
I think again, if we do a revival show, it's gotta be Will Bettelheim pulls some strings, gets Joe released, and
Prison Break with him. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. Oh gosh.
I mean, what, Maddie came back this season as well. Like we got her back. That's her name,
Or
right?
Phoebe.
Phoebe.
Yes.
That's it. Yes.
Yeah. Oh,
I
let's
like.
talk about the whole twin storyline. What did you think
Okay, go ahead.
yeah, what
Yeah,
did you think of that?
I like it. No, yeah, I like it. It's very. It's a little silly, right? It's a
Yeah.
little over the top. I like it. I guess I'm kind of indifferent on it. Like I wouldn't say I'm like I adored it or anything. I think
Yeah.
it's one of those situations that like I did with Sinners recently, where I didn't notice that like both of the actors were played by the same person. I'm like, that's a really good casting. They look very similar. They look
What
great job.
you were what did you were watching Sinners and you thought that was Michael B. Jordan's brother, Michael C. Jordan?
I Have you seen it?
I haven't seen it, but I saw a breakdown of how they did. There was a shot like at the beginning of the movie, I guess, where he like hands himself a cigarette or something like that, and it's like apparently like the most complicated shot because they're like handing each other like a physical item, and that's like supposedly super tough to do.
He plays
Um,
those two
but he
characters
plays,
very
yeah,
differently.
yeah.
So like I thought they just got a really, really good like actor to play his twin. I was like, they did a really good job here. And like halfway through, I was like, oh no, that's just Michael B. Jordan. It was driving me crazy the whole time.
Oh yeah, that's just, no, it's Michael C. Jordan.
I was like, wait, no,
It's-
no, no, no. It has to be Michael B. Jordan. Like this is crazy.
I want to. That's another movie that I really want to watch. I've heard some really really good things about it.
Sinners.
Yeah, yeah,
Sinners is fantastic. It's
yeah,
so good.
yeah. I heard
Yeah.
it's great. I heard it's great.
Yeah, I mean, I liked it. I thought it was okay. Like, I thought that was a fun twist when he like breaks into the house and like,
Yeah.
kidnaps her. It's the wrong sister. The bum bum bum.
Yeah.
Like.
Yeah, I was like, when they did that, I was like, oh, of course they did. Of course they did a twin swap. But I do kind of like how they made the I guess the underdog twin, the one that you ended up kind of connecting with the most and ended up kind of rooting for a lot more. Like, I think out of everybody who died this season, I think Reagan probably deserved to die
I was
the
thinking,
most.
like, almost
Either
out of any
her or
character.
the guy that Joe just like stabbed in the street after Bronte let him out of the box. The guy that was trying to kidnap her, that dude deserved it too.
Yeah.
But,
Oh my. That
but
guy
like
was.
Joe just did like the most like nonchalant kill ever. He's just like, all right, big knife, bye bye.
Yeah, and it's like again, if he was pulling more of a Dexter in that way, like I feel like I could justify his actions so much better if it's like, yeah, I'm taking out like bigots and murderers and psychopaths and
Exactly. And like that's the whole premise of Dexter.
like
He
Dexter.
kills
Yeah.
bad people. He has a code, and that's the biggest difference between Joe and Dexter. Is Joe doesn't have a code. Joe's
No.
code is
It was lost.
self-preservation. It's
Yeah.
self-preservation at all costs or at any cost.
Yeah.
You know?
There's what's that line? Is it the finale or the episode before the finale where she's like, "If you killed anyone that doesn't deserve it," and he's like, "No, I haven't." BS. Get that out of
Yeah.
here. Like at one point in time, I could justify it, right? Because
Again,
feel
like I
it
said,
was
is after he killed Beck, I could never justify it again. Like I think that was the point in which you could never justify his kills again. But you could see the phases. Like season 2, he tried to go that Dexter route. Like he killed Henderson because of that. He killed, who else did he kill in season 2? The fixer, that chopped his finger off. Like that kind of thing. Like he went after bad people in season 2. Until he was an accomplice to the murder of Candace, and it's also funny too. I think that is a character that maybe should have come back as a Vision or something like that, because Candace walked so Bronte could run in a lot of ways, right? Like she tried to do what, Bronte ended up picking up where Candace left off as far as exposing Joe, telling his, telling the people in his life, like, no, this dude is messed up. Like he needs to be stopped. And yeah, I just think it again, a lot of stuff very much so came full circle. Thinking of characters again, I did like a lot of the supporting cast this season. I liked the brother, Kate's brother, Teddy was his name.
I liked him too.
I think he was really, really cool. I liked him.
Who's in the MCU?
Yes, he was the suit designer.
Yeah,
I didn't realize that until I saw somebody post about it. I was like, oh, that's why he looks so familiar.
It was driving me crazy because
Yeah,
I knew I
like,
recognized him.
I was like, this dude looks so familiar. Like, what else has he been in?
Yeah.
So yeah, no, I thought he was a great addition as well. And then they bringing back characters. They brought back Nadia from last season. I think that was a very interesting reconciliation between her and Kate, because Kate played a role in putting her away. And then we got the kind of fallout from everything that happened with Marianne as well.
Marianne, that's it. It's really cool how they've been able to weave the season. What, she was introduced season 3?
Yeah, she was season 3.
Yeah, so it's like the season 3 storylines, the season 4, like the season 3, 4, 5 love interest, reweaving in Beck. And
right, exactly. It's like we got closure on season 1 too. Yeah, like we literally got elements of every season present this season, and also even with Dr. Nikki's son bringing more stuff from season 1. Which, okay, that's a character that, why could they not get John Stamos back for this season? Like, come on.
I couldn't believe they had him in like the first place. Like when they introduced him in season 1, I was like, Full House?
Yeah.
What the hell?
And then he was in season 2 as well. He was in like one scene. 40 went to go see him in season 2. Yeah, that's interesting that they
That would have
never.
been a cool little cameo. Like maybe when they're investigating him, they
Yeah,
try and
like
go to see him again or something.
okay, big question, right? Do you wish we would have seen the trial of Joe Goldberg? Do you wish that that was its own episode, or did you like the fact that
Mm,
they kind of glossed over it, just like, oh, it was a big messy trial, he went to jail? Like, I think that would have been such
mm,
a good way to bring back a lot of characters in that regard. Like, we could have brought back Dr. Nikki, we could have brought back, certain people that have seen him be like sketchy and suspicious in the past that maybe we don't think about. But maybe like it was maybe the choice between do like the sort of like the TikTok thing where we get the cameos that way, or do like a courtroom scene. And I guess that the courtroom thing was sort of was what got
sure.
the short end of the stick. Like again, it doesn't necessarily need to be there. Like we know what happened. The whole show is the trial of Joe Goldberg, right? But just I think even like a little bit of like trying to see Joe defend himself, like seeing like what kind of lawyer would even try to represent him, or if he ends up representing himself.
Yeah.
I think that that could have been interesting, but I'm not necessarily upset that we didn't see it.
Yeah, I think I see the vision. Like I see like why we'd want that, but maybe that's a little
Mm-hmm.
bit too much context. Like I feel like a lot of these feelings and emotions are maybe best unsaid in a scenario like this.
Right, and just kind of left up to audience interpretation. I do think that they do a good job with that too. Is they kind of, yes, they leave things on a very finished note, but also they do leave certain things up for interpretation. And I think, I guess, kind of again bringing things full circle here. I think the sentiment that the show leaves off on is in a great spot. Like, okay, kind of yes, Kate doesn't get doesn't get thrown in jail, whatever, but she kind of repents for what she did in a way. Um, you know, gives the business over to Teddy, turns it into a nonprofit, like, helps out Marianne, that sort of thing. Nadia writes the books. Bronte is, helps republish, Beck's book in the way that it was, originally intended to be. And I think too, the sentiment that she leaves off on is like, yes, Joe Goldberg was a part of my life. He happened, but that's not the defining characteristic of my life, and I don't know what the rest of my life is going to be, but this is something that happened. It's in my rearview mirror. It sucked, but like, hey, I'm coming out on the other side of it stronger. And I think that that's important to show too, is that Joe ruined so many people's lives, and finally somebody kind of got out and came out on the other side of it better for it, and not just left kind of in this, state of emptiness like so many other people, like Ellie, like in some ways, I guess Paco's one that kind of came out of it better, sort of, but not really. Like, he had to, yeah, this guy was, his stepfather was bad, but he had to, live on knowing Joe murdered him. Like, you know, it's kind of a tough burden.
To play the like devil's advocate actually really quickly to
Yeah.
like the Henry thing where like I argued that Henry should have gone back to his like the like fathers from season 2.
Right.
Now that I
Right.
think about it though, it's probably best for Henry's sake that he doesn't have to uproot again to like have his
Yeah.
parents growing up, they abandon him, take them there, but then they go back to Joe, but then Joe goes to prison and he loses his parents again, goes to, like that is a lot and
Yeah.
mental health
I
like
mean,
that
hey,
probably
how
sucks.
safe is Henry though with Kate? I mean, she's a known child murderer.
That is true.
I'm kind of joking, kind of
It
not.
it is weird because like I do wish I think that was one of actually my biggest problems with the episode is like I felt like she gets off scot free a little
Well,
bit.
right, and she literally gets burned alive, but somehow not burned alive. And also, uh, um, there's a basement entrance to Mooney's. Remember season 1 when Joe gets Benji, right?
Yeah.
He takes him in through the bottom entrance. Why did they have to go up the stairs and out the front door? I'm assuming that's how Kate gets out, is that back entrance
Right.
exit. Like, but yeah, okay.
Yeah, I was okay with her being dead. Like they did that
Yeah,
thing. I
I
was
thought
like,
so
oh,
too. I was
that's
like,
awesome.
okay, that's a cool like it's a cool sacrifice. And like the way that she kind of outsmarts him and outplays him there in the end, he was like, oh, haha, you're dead. I'm going to get away with this. I'm going to just say all my things. And then she's like, nope, here, caught you on tape.
Yeah, and
And
like
then
her
also,
sacrifice.
yeah, yeah. And I did also see people saying, well, how did she have internet service to send out the tapes from down there? And the answer to that was, you don't have cell service in the box, not in the basement.
Yeah.
So, and I saw somebody say she has the Wi-Fi password. Like, interestingly enough, nobody really died this season. Like outside of like the targets, right? Like Bob and Reagan, obviously. But like no one of importance died in the final season, which was kind of different. I feel like they've never been shy about killing characters before. But it seemed like, at least in this season, that they wanted to make sure everybody got away and everybody got a better life. Obviously, except for Joe, which again, the death would have been too easy for him.
Like the only real victims he's had in terms of love interest would have been Beck, right? Because like you have Beck and then you have Love, but like Love was like also a serial killer and probably deserved what he got, and then all the other main love interests got out and got free.
Yeah, I would say Love was technically self-defense, but also they kind of brought that on. I don't know, dude. Like that's still maybe my. Oddly enough, as much as I enjoyed that in the moment, that's probably my least favorite decision of the show.
Which one was killing Love?
Was killing Love. Yeah.
Interesting.
Is I think that there still could have been a lot more done there. And oddly enough, I think in the books he leaves her alive. Like Joe is not the one to kill Love in the books, which is very interesting. Definitely do some research on the books a little bit, like if you want to kind of see that side of things. But yeah, Joe is not the one to kill her in the books.
Fairly interesting.
But yeah, I guess from what you're saying, yeah, that is interesting too. Is that Beck is really the only legitimate love interest that he actually ended up killing. He led to the death.
Yeah.
Right, that didn't deserve it, or that didn't get killed by other means. Like, he thought he killed Candace, and then she came back, but then Love killed her.
That is true. I kind of forgot about
that. And he thought he killed Delilah, but Love killed her.
I kind of forgot about her too. Like I feel like Candace and her kind of gets pushed under the rug a little bit because they weren't like the season love interest, but they technically were a love interest, right?
Yeah.
I feel like this is kind of not a great question to ask, but just on a character perspective alone, do you have a favorite love interest he's had over?
It's funny. I was going to ask you the exact same question.
I wasn't sure if I wanted to because like I don't want to like rank women. Like I don't want what this is, but like
no. I understand kind of what you're asking as far as the question goes, and I think that's an easy answer for me, and that's got to be Love, because I think that they were the most compatible, even though it didn't turn out well. Like I think. From like looking back at things, I think that they probably had the most chemistry, I feel like, as two people, and again, it made the most sense out of all of them.
Yeah. And also had two seasons to build that story out as well.
Yeah. And I think out of everybody, I think she was the most right for Joe in a lot of ways. Like, he found elements to all of these other people that he grasped onto for one reason or another, but I think that they were, again, the most compatible in that way, but I think maybe in some ways they were too alike, and that's why it didn't work.
Yeah, I think I really liked Marianne as well.
Okay.
Like, Love is a good answer. I liked Marianne. It's tough because I don't think there's been any I've disliked. Like, I think Beck is probably my least favorite. Which I assume that's a hot take. I don't know. Like, I think Beck is so interesting because I think Beck is the most like outside of love, obviously, because she's very
I
flawed.
think
But
that's
like
I think it maybe the most basic answer is like, oh, the first,
the
the
first
first
one,
season. Yeah.
I also think she was like the most flawed outside of love. Obviously, like I feel like,
Yeah.
well, I
She
can't say that
definitely
because Kate killed
what-
kids. I guess that's a relevant statement. But
yeah.
like,
I mean, well, she definitely caused Joe some psychological turmoil.
I, I guess like Beck to me wasn't a very likable character. I guess that's kind of what I'm trying to
Well, I
get
think that
at.
was kind of the point though.
It was, yeah.
I don't think that I think too maybe as well what they were trying to show is that while Joe maybe got this like instant like infatuation, I guess is the best way
Mhm.
to put it, is like they weren't it wasn't necessarily a good match after a while, and he was trying to make something
Make it
work
work.
that
Yeah.
he shouldn't have been. And I
I
think that's a whole other conversation. I think
yeah.
this, you can really go very deep as far as a lot of these go, and like a lot of the, I guess, the messages of the seasons go as well. And again, look at me trying to break down a show about a serial killer that
No, I think it has to. Like I think you have to break out the little things and like if this was a weekly show, I bet we would be breaking down the like
oh
little
yeah.
instances and stuff like that. Like I'm just trying to be like, what else happened in the season and blah blah blah. I also think Beck is one of the only people that he loved after this kind of the switch happened.
Yeah, I mean, well, because she haunted him the whole series.
Yeah,
Like in multiple points, she came back. Like I believe she popped back up in season 2 in his mind. I
she
can't.
did
Did she pop up in season 3? I don't think so. I think season 3 was the only one she
not
wasn't in.
physically, but I think her presence was still
Was
there. It
still,
was still
yeah. And
active.
then season 4, I still feel like the season 4 scene where he saw Beck and Love both in
Yeah, that
that
was good.
hallucination trying to like find the key and that sort of thing. Like I that was still one of my favorite scenes. I
Mhm.
still think my favorite episode was the drug trip episode from season 2 with
Yeah,
40.
yeah, agreed.
Um my favorite twist was the season 4 twist of, Reese was all in his head. Um and yeah, I think season 4, oddly enough, is still my favorite season. So let's
Interesting. Okay, yeah, let's rank
let's
the
rank. Let's
season.
rank.
Yeah.
Okay.
What? Okay,
So
what's your
do we
number
want to
five?
start? You want to start at the bottom? Yeah.
Yeah,
Season 3 is my number 5.
agreed.
Okay. Okay.
Agreed. I think it's like I still enjoy season 3. I think it's still fun. I think actually this point, I actually think I was really into it because I feel like I finally understood what the show was. It's this like little silly, goofy little thing I could kind of escape into, right? But it is the
Yeah.
most messy. It is like this season
Yeah.
to me feels like they didn't quite know where to go yet because they kind of knew what the first 2 seasons were, and they probably knew where they
Hmm.
maybe wanted to go. But it's that like middle child of like, we're in limbo. We don't want to fully
Right.
do the
It's like
stuff yet.
we don't want to
But
like fully jump the shark, and then season 4 was just jumping the shark.
exactly, yeah,
But then I think season 5 kind of almost walked some of that back, like put you back in a familiar setting, and was like, okay, let's kind of get back to how you remember the show, at least starting and pay homage to those earlier seasons.
agreed. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
it just
I
I also think just like really quickly, like it's
yeah,
the season that like is the most silly. Like I think it's like the most
it is.
goofy. Like
It
you have
is.
that episode where they're doing like the giant orgy thing, and it's like, oh, we're doing this and we're doing that, and it's
Oh,
so absurd.
the hunting
The
trip on the
hunting
mountain. Yeah.
episode,
Oh gosh,
it's like
Joe thinks he killed him, and he's like, what did he what was
the
he
alpha
taking?
male.
He was like, oh yeah, no, dude, I like mega dose glutathione, and that's why I survived. Like,
So
okay,
many
okay, bro. Oh,
like
and then the measles outbreak, because it was during, we know exactly when that season came out to date itself, for sure. Um, and there was
it's
just cheesy stuff. Like
a lot of cheesy
the
stuff.
name of the bakery was A Fresh Tart instead of A Fresh Start. Like,
Yeah,
funny stuff like that. Like it was good. I do remember really enjoying that season when it came
it's
out though.
still fun. Like and
Yeah.
again, like I think that's what I'll have to keep in mind when I'm doing my, like, in August, I rank, like, every show I've ever seen. I do it, like,
Yeah,
every single year. And I think when I go to rank it, I have to imagine, like, even at the show's weakest, I think it's still at least a fun show to watch. Like, it's
exactly.
still
And
very enjoyable.
yeah, and this is at the bottom of my list. Not that like it's a bad season. It's like I enjoyed it less than the other seasons though. Like
Hmm.
if that makes sense. Like there's not one season that I hate. Like there's not one season that I wouldn't go back and watch again.
Agreed.
Number 4.
Hmm.
Would you like to give your number 4 first?
I am very shocked by this,
Okay.
but it's season 2. Season 2 is my
Oh.
number 4.
Oh, that was not what I was expecting. I thought it was gonna be season 1 for you.
I am surprised. I am too. Like, I'm really
Okay.
surprised, and I think the more I thought about it, it shifted a little bit because I like coming like in the first couple of seasons. I was like, I thought season 2 was an improvement. I thought it was really fun. I thought it was whatever. But I do think that back half to me does kind of
Falter a little bit.
it does falter a couple of the things where I'm like objectively. I'm not sure if you can hear the thunder and lightning behind me, but
Well,
like
there was thunder and lightning earlier for me. Somehow
wow.
we didn't hear that, but yeah.
But like I think it's to me more enjoyable and honestly just in pure enjoyment factor, maybe one of the most I enjoyed. But there are
Yeah.
these little things that really do bug me. The whole like I wolf you whole thing.
Oh, did you see the interview where what's her name? That played Love like was talking about it. She was like, "Yeah, this was the dumbest stuff ever." And I'll get
It
people like coming she's like, "Yeah, people will come up to me and like say that." And she's like, "Nah, dude, that's like
it's
dumb."
genuinely, and I've seen a lot of like CW shows and
I
Bad
mean, but it's
TV.
supposed to be like stupid, silly, goofy, cringe, like
So
awful.
I I get that, but like I have a line. I was like
Yeah.
I really had to pause it, walk
I
out of
have
the
you have a
room.
line you have a line of cheese that you
It's
just
like
like
no,
draw and you're not like
no.
no
And
more cheese beyond this point.
it's like I like that love twist as well, but it's also a twist that I think steps over the line of like kind of craziness that I think that you were talking about. It's like it's over
Yeah.
fantasy and like wait, the whole time she's been doing this and she's been evil. Like it's really
Yeah.
cool, but also it's so
I
like
remember loving that twist originally. I
it's
remember
good.
loving
It's
that
just
twist.
it's I don't know, like I feel like it could have been maybe done a little bit neater in some areas or whatever, but like
Yeah.
I like this season for sure.
Okay. My number 4 is actually season 5.
Okay.
I think for again a lot of reasons, especially my initial thoughts on the end of it. I think it was very much so like as much as I'm very much so content with it. It's very interesting. I think it's actually it's grown on me like the Flash finale. It like that's such a weird comparison. But like it felt somewhat underwhelming, but it's still very fitting. Like I think the final scene, the way that it ends specifically, is potentially the perfect end for the show. But how we got to that point was not necessarily the greatest journey. Like I think the first half of season 5 is really strong, and if the back half of season 5 was just as strong, it might have beat out some of these other seasons for me. But just the fact that that back half of the season was some very much so like a lot of contrived pieces, and you have to suspend your disbelief and jump over a lot of hoops and say, okay, Joe's getting sloppy. These people can investigate very, very well, that sort of thing. It just it somewhat fell apart for me in that back half. But again, I still
Fair.
really enjoyed it. I still really enjoyed it, and again, I still the ending itself has grown on me a ton within just the last week.
That's fair.
And I do think again that it's the most fitting end for Joe. And I think I just think that the way that we got there was maybe not my favorite. And who knows, if they had done it a different way, I might have liked it more. I might have liked it less. But I do still think that it gave a great message. And again, left our main character with a fitting end. And that's, I think, all you can really ask for.
Fair. All right, what's your number 3?
Number 3 for me is season 2.
Season 2. Okay.
Season 2, yeah. And again, Will Bettelheim, and my favorite episode of the of the entire show. Also, Dexter reference. We
Was a
gotta love
Dexter
that.
reference.
Gotta love the
Candace,
Dexter reference. Yeah.
40,
Um,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. And 40. But yeah, I think again a lot of elements to like. I think season 2 is when I realized that I actually really enjoyed the show.
Agreed.
And
Yeah.
funny enough, season 2 was what I saw of the show first,
Mm.
actually. So I feel like I've talked about this before, but I watched the Alex Myers video on season 2.
Oh, that's
It
fun.
was like you season 2 is the dumbest show ever or something like that, right? And I saw his like breakdown. He was just talking about the first episode of the season. I was like, you know what? This seems kind of interesting. Let's go
Mm.
back and like look at what season 1 looked like. And I saw that too, and I was like, I guess I'll watch this show.
Mm.
And then I did, and I was like, what the freak did I just get myself into? Like, this dude is weird, but it hooked me
Yeah.
because like I don't know, like it's maybe the best way to describe you is like, you see a car crash on the side of the road. Like, I don't want to see that, but you're kind of
Mhm.
intrigued, you know?
I, I think maybe mentioned this a couple weeks ago, but like this show reminds me of like reading like Reddit stories. I don't know how many of those like
Oh yeah,
Reddit
like
story.
the fake Reddit, yeah.
Well, like not even fakes. I mean, sometimes they are fake,
Yeah.
but it's like people coming to Reddit and giving their stories, and they're sometimes very cringy, very fun, whatever.
Yeah.
And they're not necessarily bad, but they are so like they're so like I don't know, like turn your brain off, listen to this fun little story, don't think about it too crazy much, don't get too invested in it, but it's
Yeah.
a fun way to kind of spend your afternoon. Same thing as those like very trashy like date like those like Dateline murder mystery, the
Oh
like serial
yeah.
killer. Like it's very like it's that, but like
Yeah.
escalated to a fantasy level of like what this guy would do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
What is your number 3?
season 5, and like going into
Okay.
this, it was my number 1, weirdly enough. But I think like
Okay.
being able to talk it out and stuff like that, like we're mentioning things, I was like, yeah, this could have done better.
Interesting.
And like I think like even as you're talking about it, I was like, actually, I think I completely agree with you about the back half. As much as I still really enjoy it, and I like the
Yeah.
twist with her and like what they do, like all that stuff is very well.
And I think
I
that
think
episode might have been the best of the season. Was that kind of explainer episode? What was that, episode 6?
it was really good.
Was
Yeah.
one of my favorites.
Yeah, like I think like I like especially that first act. Like I think the peak of the show for me is the talk about this in a second, but like the back half
Yeah.
of season 4 through the first half of season 5, that to me is peak
Is the peak
you
show. Yeah, you're right. You're right. Is like
100%.
what was it, like episode like 6 or 7 onwards from season 4 till about
Yes.
episode 5 or 6 of season 5. You're right. Like
Yes,
if
100%.
that stretch is peak show, which is such a difference from what most people view it as. Is people think, okay, seasons 1, 2, and 3 are peak, and then
Yeah,
season 4 and 5 are trash.
for
Which is
sure.
it's interesting. It's interesting. That like you don't get a definitive answer on that. Like for Dexter going into it, like I knew there was a large piece of the fan base that seasons 1 through 4 are the definitive show. Seasons 5 through 8 suck, and so does the new show. Is what I basically was told going into it,
Sure.
and not and my mom seemed to enjoy all of it. I went into it and I was like, yeah, I can see the shift, but like I don't know what people are talking about. Like I love some of these later seasons. Um, like
That
I
with me
love
with go ahead, sorry, go ahead.
with what?
With A Walking Dead.
Okay,
Like people swear by that show getting really bad, and it shifts in quality for sure. It's not that,
interesting.
but like it never gets to the bad that I think people say it's bad. I just think it
Yeah,
changes and evolves.
yeah,
Like I've seen like a
exactly.
lot of like I've seen a lot of bad TV. We've seen a lot of like CW shows and stuff like that, and
Andor.
it. Ne- no, let's not do that. Let's not do that.
What?
Uh,
Sorry, I'm sorry. I got something in my throat.
Moon Knight. No. Um, but no, that's fair. That's fair. What are we on our number 2?
Number 2, yeah, and that is season 1 for me. Is
Interesting.
number 2.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think the OG. The one that started it all. I think there's some really really good elements in season 1, and like I said, I think that's the most the most likable Joe ever was, again, until the end of it. But I think, that, it started his journey, that sort of thing, and you could see elements of where maybe, he was trying to do the right thing, and then, it kind of all fell down towards the end. And I
Yeah.
think season 1 is probably the most quotable as well.
Mm.
Like there's a lot of pieces of season 1 that I see people like, reposting clips, that sort of thing. The one that sticks out to me a lot is the runner's high when he was chasing after Peach in the park, and he was like, and then I just felt it. What was that, runner's high? It's like, and then he, like, I don't know. I think something like that. It was fun. It was fun.
Yeah.
I do really like season 1. What's your number 2?
Season 4 is
Oh,
my number 2, and we talked about
oh,
this. If that first half was just a slightly more
yeah.
entertaining, if it grasped me just a little bit more, it would easily be my favorite. Because I again, we talked about it last week. The back half of season 4, easily the best of the show, no doubt in my mind. Genuinely goes from like it like took that show from like this is the whole thing. It's just okay. It's an okay show
Yeah.
to like this is great TV. This is the genuinely great television. Is what I thought the whole show was when I jumped on. I was like, this is what I've been wanting from you. But I was so frustrated with that first half. It's not even bad. There's nothing wrong with it, but it's so
Yeah.
slow. It
Yes.
drags. I
Yeah.
had a talk with someone in my Discord being like, I never made it to the back half of season 4 because the first half was so boring. And I was like, I understand, although that's so frustrating because the back
Hmm.
half is so good. Like you just need to make it
Yeah.
a
Like,
little
but
further.
it's interesting though to me. Is like I was still kind of hooked in the beginning part of it. I
Okay.
was like, the murder mystery, the sort of like
It's not
losing
bad.
time,
It's
who's
certainly
after
not.
Joe, like, that sort of thing. I did kind of like his cover identity in this one. The professor and stuff like that. I liked the beard and the hair.
I
I
like
think
the
that
beard
was I
too.
think that was
Yeah.
probably Joe's best look. Um,
100%. Yeah.
I think if we were to rank like the look of Joe, I think season 4 was peak performance for Joe,
Mm,
and as far as that goes, and I think too peak performance as far as the killer side of him goes. Like
mm.
he was,
He was
again,
on
man on
crazy
a
time.
mission. He
Yeah.
was, yeah, he was on demon time. I think season 4 Joe could maybe compete with Dexter, like maybe give him a little bit of a run for his money.
Sure.
But he'd still end up on that table for sure. But yeah, I guess that brings me to my number 1, which
Yeah.
is season
Season 4.
4.
Yeah.
Again, I sing my praises for it. It's probably the unpopular opinion. But again, that twist just sits with me so much. And again, I think that some of the characters were pretty good in that season. We had Alfred from Gotham,
You
so
did?
like, come on, how it can't be that bad of a season. I liked Reese. I think Kate's
Reese is
father
good.
was
Yeah.
actually a very interesting character as well.
And Kate
I didn't,
herself.
I
Yeah.
yeah, like I didn't hate Kate in season 4. Like I know a lot of
Yeah.
people
I
kind of
liked her as a
did.
character.
I
Yeah.
yeah, I liked her in season 4, and I liked her as well in season 5. But yeah, I enjoyed the season quite a bit.
Yeah.
I just, I wish that momentum, like we had kind of talked about, that momentum from the end of season 4 into season 5 carried throughout the entirety of season 5.
Agreed. Yeah. And I actually wonder if I like rewatched season 4 if it would become my number 1 because I feel like that season would
Yeah.
work a whole
Like
lot
rewatch
better.
it with that
Yeah,
knowledge of
I
like
think
every time he talks to Reese, he's talking to himself.
yeah,
And
I
every time
think
he blacks out, he's becoming the Eat the Rich killer.
yeah, like you're starting to convince me a little bit that maybe season 4 is the best. But I'm just gonna go with season 1 as the best, which is very weird because I started
Yeah.
out being like
You told me, like, you're like, I don't know about
I
this.
don't and I still kind of feel the same, but I think it's probably the most consistent the show
It
ever is.
it is. It
Like
is.
it doesn't have the highs of seasons 2, 3, 4, and 5 to me, but it also doesn't have the lows of 2, 3, 4, and 5 for me. It's
The
just
epic
like
highs and lows of high school football.
that's how I am with a lot of shows where it's like sometimes you have to sacrifice like the highs and lows to get this
Yeah.
like
It was
like
the
a
most
lows.
it was 100%. It was the most it was the most focused is I think the best word for it.
Less
Like
focused,
it was
most
very focused. There wasn't a lot of extraneous stuff going on.
yeah,
It was Joe, he is in love with Beck. He will do whatever it takes to be with her. End of story.
agreed.
Like that was it. That was the focus. There was nothing else going on outside of like obviously a couple like little, side plots and things like that, but there weren't all these like, a million different characters to juggle, that sort of thing. It was all about Joe. And I guess that's sort of something that you get to with a show as it continues, as it goes on for longer. The lead actor has to have more time to, take episodes away. Or I think, in season 4 he ended up Penn Badgley, I think, directed an episode in season 4, and like all of these different factors play into it. He becomes more so in a producer role. And they have to give him that time away, same as like the later seasons of
Mm,
the Flash. There were episodes without Grant
yeah.
Gustin, and you had to focus more so on the side characters. So it can't necessarily always be that focused. But I think too, it's a testament to when a show has good side characters and when you can enjoy the episodes. Similar, I guess, bringing this full circle when you were talking about that Doctor Who episode. You were saying that it was an episode without your main character, but it was
Mhm.
still interesting because you have a love for those side characters. And I think that that's what would make certain things more interesting here if the side characters were more lovable. And I think that that maybe, the biggest critique I can have for season 4 is a lot of those side characters I didn't love. But I think in a lot of ways too, that was sort of the point.
Mhm.
Is we were meant to sympathize with Joe in this Eat the Rich Killer in season 4.
Agreed.
But yeah, I do think season 1, the most focused of the seasons, and it set the groundwork for everything to come
The groundwork.
afterwards.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Like with any great first season, it's sometimes I think hard to beat it when you set that foundation, when you set everything into motion. It's weird because like I just said season 1 was my favorite, but like I said, when I got done season 1, I was like, I don't know if I want to do these next couple seasons. Like I liked it, but like
Yeah.
enough to spend 50 hours on
It's
a show
so
like this.
it's so funny. I was like, if he can just get to like the mid season of season 4, he's
Mhm.
gonna realize it was all worth it.
It's interesting though because like that was the peak, but I enjoyed it the more it went on. I think that's because I
Yeah.
got
And I think in
invested.
hindsight too, is
Yeah,
like you look back at it and you're like, okay, well no, I really did enjoy this quite a bit.
yeah, and I think I would enjoy season 1 again even more if I know Joe as a
Hmm.
character. Now that I think I
Yeah.
like Beck retrospectively more because she was the first, and you got all this stuff from
Right.
her. You know, a lot of these characters, knowing where he ends up, and also just enjoying the style of the show more because I remember
Yeah.
being hard to get into at first when he was like I wasn't quite sure the style that they were trying to hit. Like we had that very silly scene when like he's making out with Beck as he's hiding her various items
Oh
like in
yeah.
his pouch, and it's like this is so silly. Like this is so
Yeah.
goofy.
Yeah, no, it is. And I think too, it's one of those kind of like you can turn your brain off sort of shows, especially in those first couple seasons. Like there wasn't a ton of mystery, not a ton of stuff to kind of, think about, speculate on. And then as the show went on, it got a little bit more complicated as far as that goes. And some things that you could kind of speculate and theorize on. And yeah, again, I enjoyed this journey quite a bit as well. I'm glad that I took the chance on this show back when I did. And again, I think, we came to a very, in my book, a satisfying end. Like, again, I might not have loved it from the beginning as far as how this show ended, but I think in a lot of ways, as with this show, it kind of proves is you almost have to let it sit and simmer for a little bit and look back on it in retrospect and kind of see, what was the message that they were trying to tell here. And when you think about it from that perspective, I think it's a lot more valuable, and I think it works a lot more in that regard.
Yeah, and I think I would have liked it a lot more if I watched it as it was
Mm-hmm.
releasing
Right, and it
over.
had more time to kind of sit in your mind instead of just binging the whole thing all the way
y-
through.
Yeah,
It
like
was
there
probably a
were
lot.
times where it's like I don't want to be watching you right now, but I have to because I need to get caught up or blank blank blank.
I'm watching you.
It's like I think you're like especially like I think season 3 was the big one. Like going from season 2 to 3, it's like I don't think it's meant to be watched like this, especially a show that's so repetitive in its style, where like
Yeah.
relatively the seasons are all the same in terms of the plot. Like he's after a girl and he's killing whoever gets in his way. Like that's
Yeah.
the plot of overall every season, right? So I think that
Yeah.
works better in like a year or two in between each individual season. But yeah, I think that takes us sort of to the end of our U journey. I doubt it'll be the last time we mention it. I bet you'll bring it up many times in the future.
Yeah, and who knows? Maybe we'll get some expansions to the universe.